based on the fact that there are so many people who is talking about how tough Canada has been for them and how difficult it has been, I thought let's break it down. Let's break down income and expenses in Canada. Everyone's personality affects their spending. For example, if you really like clothes and shoes, your finances is going to end up being you spending a lot of money on clothes and shoes. So it really depends a lot on your personality. You don't just want to live your life and just pay rent and food and that's it. Like, you don't want to do that. I definitely don't want to do that. But at the same time, there's a medium point. So you're not spending too much, but you're not spending too little at the same time. Hi there, welcome back to the channel. On this channel, I talk about life in Canada, Canadian immigration, and personal development. Now today I will be talking about what I spent in 2023. It's crazy to say that because it's the entire year, but I am very good with bookkeeping, and because of that I've been able to keep good track of my money. I was able to really do good bookkeeping where I actually know where my money went and things like that. And I was just looking at it just now and I saw the breakdown of everything. I evaluated at the end of 2023 as well, but one of the things that just came to me is that, well, I won't actually be using this. This is not something that I'm going to be using long term. This is information that I have, but I don't do a lot of things with the information. Yes, I do use it, but I don't use it to do a lot of things. So because of that, what I decided to do is to actually share it on the channel, and what I want to do is to really break down cost of living in Canada based on the fact that there are so many people who is talking about how tough Canada has been for them and how difficult it has been. I thought let's break it down. Let's break down income and expenses in Canada. My income has varied, fluctuated, moved. Actually, it has gone in the right direction. Like, it has only increased, which is great. When I first came to Canada, I was working a minimum wage job, and then I went into a job that paid me $2 more than the amount, and I spoke a lot about that in the video where I talk about can you live off minimum wage in Canada. And that video, I'm going to link it here while I talk. The main thing that I want to talk about today is the cost of living currently in Canada is not manageable, and is it that when you come to Canada you won't have any money and you'll be poor and you just waste all this time and energy to come to Canada just to hear that you won't be able to make the type of money that you would like to make. So that is what I want to break down in this video. So basically, I'm going to be talking in the range of minimum wage to middle class income. If you want details about middle class income, you can always Google how much middle class income is. Everything for me is on Google Sheets. That is what I use, Excel spreadsheet. And the reason why I like Google Sheets is because honestly, I can access it on my phone, I can access it on my computer. Right now I'm just going to use my phone, which is very, very advantageous, and that is really how I was able to keep good track of my monies, because when I'm doing budgeting, I don't have to go on my computer to write in something that I spent on. Like, I have my phone right here, I just throw it in there wherever I am. So what I want to share first is the averages of how much was spent into a month, and thinking about how much more someone would be spending versus how much less someone can actually spend. Now that is going to depend a lot on me as a person, and just to give you the backstory so that you have an idea of who you're dealing with. You're dealing with someone that is very frugal, a person who does not spend a lot. I am a saver. I save my money. So that's the type of person you're dealing with, which is very important for this video, because my personality is what comes out into how I spend, and everyone's personality affects their spending. For example, if you really like clothes and shoes, then your personality going to go into spending a lot. Your finances is going to end up being you spending a lot of money on clothes and shoes. So it really depends a lot on your personality. I was at a stage where when I was in university and I was saving and paying a tuition, I found that easier. When I finished university and I was working, I started to think I was working. That's very important to note because I'm not currently in that job that I was in previously. I am currently a business owner full time. Yeah, a lot to unpack in regards to that. When I was in that job, I haven't been in that job. I haven't looked back. I haven't been like, oh, I wish I was there, or what would have life been if I stayed there, or if I was there now, what would have life been? I haven't had any of those thoughts. Like, I just moved on, honestly, and that's absolutely amazing to be able to move on and not looking back. So one of the things that I have noticed is that when I was paying tuition and I was paying cost of living, for some reason I found it very easy to do it just a couple years ago, like 2 years ago, when I was paying both tuition and I was paying cost of living. It didn't seem as bad, and that confuses me now because I earned more now versus then, and that is why it became confusing. Like, how is it that now that I'm making more money, suddenly I can't make ends meet, but before I was able to pay tuition and pay for rent and pay for food, and I comfortably did it. So because of that, what I did is to look at my spreadsheet, because I have all this information of in the past of me sitting down and recording. Okay, so these are the amounts that I spent, and this was the income and all the sources of income that I had. I wrote every one of them down, and I still do that to this day. I started to do in-depth budgeting where it's here on like a whole spreadsheet and things like that. I've been doing this since 2021. I started like when I came back to Canada, and I was like grind mode. When I came back here in 2021, I was like grind mode, like it's time to make real money. And when I made that decision, that was also like while I was in Jamaica, I did some reflection on whether I wanted to stay in Canada and things like that. Like there was a lot that was involved in this whole journey to permanent residency. If you follow my channel, if you're new here, you should watch other videos that I've done. Look at other videos before you know a lot more about me. It's really after the first summer that I made money in Canada, I was like, oh wow. And I'm telling you that that money that I made, and I was making more than that, but at the same time I couldn't make ends meet, and it was like, what is going on? So I took some time and I sat down and looked through my spreadsheet, and this is what I found. So when I looked at my spreadsheet, which I have right here at me, and I can see I'm literally at 2023 January 1st. Rent, Netflix, and all these things. Tuition was paid. January 1st of 2023, I was in university. I graduated university in May 2023. I was paying this tuition. I'm looking at it. The tuition amount was like $7,000, 7,000 something dollars I spent on tuition for that January. But I'm telling you that for some reason, I didn't find it as difficult back then. Something happened. Something definitely happened after I started that job, because I'm looking right now, and in June I spent like 1,200, and then in July, so I started job in July. So let's just back up with just a couple months before to see how much was I spending before that month. So in March, so I graduated May. In March, I spent like $1,030 in a month, currently I don't even think I can possibly do that. Like, I don't think I can just spend $1,000 in a month and just basic expensive, which is ridiculous. In April I spent $1,750 I spent, and then in May I spent 1,400 and something dollars I spent. So you can see like my monthly expenses coming out there, like about 1,400. I said before that it was at 1,700 going to $2,000. It was $1,000 one month, and you can see. And then afterwards in June I spent $1,230. In July I spent, and this is in a month, I spent 1,300. And then after I started working in July, so I got paid in July, and then in August, that's when things started to happen, where suddenly I started, that August I spent 2,500, but I've always been in the $1,000 bracket. Somehow now I'm spending 2,500 into a month, and then the following month I spent $3,000 in a month, and then the following month I spent $3,250, and then the following month after that I spent 1,500, which is going back down when I realized, oh no, like my expenses are significantly increased. I need to figure this out and fix it. And then I started to go back down to 1,500 again, and then afterwards I went back down again to 1,500 the following month again. So you can see that my expenses in a month is about $1,500. That's kind of on the high side, but that is if I just spend regularly, like regular expenses. So the question is, what happened when I started my job where I ended up spending so much money that suddenly I found it hard to save money at this point because my expenses were so high. I started to spend like $3,000 into a month, and that is where something was wrong. Like, how am I spending $3,000 when I was just spending, like, the first in March I spent like $1,030, and now I'm spending $3,000 into a month? What happened there? And this is where my tracking system was very, very helpful, where I could see exactly what I spent extra money on, and I'm going to tell you what it was. So in August I spent on driving lessons, driving school. It was very, very expensive, but I paid for it because I'm working and I had the money. So suddenly now I'm paying for driving school. So I did some private lessons, which were very, very helpful in some things, and they really tightened up the lessons that I previously got to help me in my actual driving test. So it was very, very helpful, but it was a lot of money. Which brings me to the point that I'm trying to make here. With cost of living in Canada, what you'll realize is that when you make more money, you automatically start spending more money. And this is why so many times you would see that when you're making a smaller income, you can do a lot with it, but then when you make more money, you're confused because you realize you barely have any money left. And that's what I realized. So I elevated my lifestyle automatically. I was paying for gas. Suddenly I'm in charge of car insurance, which is why I was so happy that I had it all recorded so I could see where exactly is my money going. Because $1,000 in a month, is that even possible? I lived off of $1,000 per month buying, and what did I spend it on? So let's see, what exactly did I spend on in that month where I lived off only $1,000? Like, how did I do that? So let's see, let's break it down and see how on earth I got that to happen. Okay, so with $1,000 I was able to pay rent, I paid for storage, I buy the thumb drive, I paid my phone bill, I paid for Netflix. Oh, and then I barely buy anything. I barely buy anything in addition. Very important. And grocery. And I buy like three things outside of that. Only three things. And they weren't a lot of money. It was like $27 for one thing that I purchased. Something was for $12. Something was for $1.97. One thing was for $14.93. So it was very low. Okay, so that is why I was able to live off such a low income, because I didn't actually buy anything else. I definitely inflated my lifestyle, and I think everybody that you hear crying about the cost of living in Canada has inflated their lifestyle. And the main thing is that, like, you don't want to be living off like a really small amount. Like, you don't just want to live your life and just pay rent and food and that's it. Like, you don't want to do that. I definitely don't want to do that. But at the same time, there's a medium point where, honestly, I think if many people who cry about the cost of living really and truly, it's because they inflated their lifestyle. They don't know how to go back to where they were. Even for me, like, going back to where I was would mean I don't have a car. I go into a smaller apartment. Inflating my lifestyle would mean getting a smaller apartment again. That's not something that I want to do either way. So it's bittersweet, because yes, you don't want to inflate your lifestyle, but at the same time, are you going to sit into a really small apartment that can't really fit anything forever? Are you going to take the bus forever? Are you going to whatever you're spending your money on? But I think it's important to just find that median point, so you're not spending too much but you're not spending too little at the same time. And that is the balance that I am going back into, where no, I'm not just spending $1,000 per month, but at the same time, I'm also not spending $3,000 per month. No, I'm spending 1,500 per month. Let me see for the new year. So I have like a separate spreadsheet for the new year. So let me just see in 2024. Okay, so for the new year, so for the first month of the year, I spent almost $2,000. But if you consider just making minimum wage is like 2,250. So if I'm spending $2,000 on minimum wage, then that would mean that I save 350 into the month. That's not bad. 250 into a month. That's not bad. So if, let's say, for example, I make more than just minimum wage, then I would save way more. So it's not bad. That's actually really good. I don't know how much other people save into a month, but I think it's important to save. I always prioritize saving. Like, saving for me is very, very important. I also have another spreadsheet where I record my income minus my expenses and how much is left every single month. So what that does is that it gives me a very easy look and into my finances to see how much is my income, how much is my expenses, how much is my saving at that point. And that is something that I keep track of, and it just makes it easier to really notice, like, how much do I save every single month, because that for me is very important to keep track of that. I am trying to find the one for 2023, and of course it's fully filled out from January to December of 2023. So in a month, yeah, these are really good saving. Honestly, even though I'm here talking about how inflating lifestyle and all these things, these were still very good savings. When you come to Canada, just know, don't only think about coming to Canada and doing a minimum wage job and beyond with, and that's it. Like, get a better job, get a job that pays better. If you need to go back to school, go back to school. Like, just go back to school and make more than that. And if you have kids and things like that, you kind of don't have a choice. Like, you need more money, I'm talking as someone who does not have any children. So just imagine adding children to all of this. Minimum wage, I'm seeing where minimum wage can get you the basics for an individual. Add a child into it alone, even just one child, to add one child into a minimum wage salaries would be tough. But the good thing is you get child benefit, and I think child benefit is $700 under 5 years old, and then $500 over. So if you're just making minimum wage, then you would get that support. Should be helpful, should really help you. I know many people who live off minimum wage with children. Don't ask me how they do it, but there are people who does it. But yeah, just reflecting on the cost of living, you'll be fine. Get a better job other than just minimum wage. Always save some money, at least $300 a month. Save it, put it one side. If you're a chronic saver, at least $1,000 a month you should be saving. And if you're not saving that, maybe you need to increase your income. That's it for this video. Hope you found it helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.